The Civil Rights Act of 1964, signed by President Lyndon Johnson after the Civil Rights Movement, discriminated against segregation and gave rights to African Americans. The act includes 11 titles, each providing rights and responsibilities to a specific group of people. The Civil Rights Movement was a movement from the 1950s to the 1960s. The movement contributed to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It influenced many parts of the USA, including the government. The letter from Birmingham jail was made so that Martin Luther King Jr. could explain why he was in jail and what was correct. President Kennedy came up with the idea of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. However, he was killed before he presented it to Congress. President Lyman presented to Congress, and after 76 days of arguing with Congress decided to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
The passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 really represented a moment when all three branches of the national government come together and say, a fundamental fact of our constitutional, social, political, and economic order has to change. We can no longer do business in the way that we have been doing business for decades. It is not acceptable. We are taking a moral stand.
Title I added the right to vote for any race. This title only gave the right to vote, not fair voting. This caused Martin Luther King Jr. to say that the Civil Rights Act was only a little bit. They made the Voting Rights Act of 1964. This made fair voting for African Americans. This title is still active today. Title II was made to make sure that restaurants, motels, and entertainment places allow any race to enter there. This makes them go anywhere without being stopped by anybody. This means no racial discrimination. This also gives responsibilities to work in a job in one of these places. Title III is similar to Title II. Title III talks about the ownership of businesses. I say that any race can get any job and can be given responsibility to work and to get a well-paying job. It gives them the ability to enter a facility, to work there, and get to be treated equally.
One of the most important titles of the Act is the one that protects against discrimination in public accommodations. That's not a surprise if you think about what are some of the most important and the most visible protests in the civil rights movement of the South. They are at lunch counters, they are in Woolworths. These were incredibly important places where people were protesting for their rights, and this bill made it clear that those were rights that people had.
Title IV discusses the responsibility of education. It states that African Americans should go to school, and they can go to any school. This causes the desegregation of education, which makes the government pay funds to provide education to any race. Title V was created so that any race can have its rights and responsibilities protected and secured. This title is a commission made to protect education, voting, working, justice, and transportation. Title VI is a title made to protect African Americans from not being separated or segregated from the community. This includes segregation of national origin or race. Title VII was made so that African Americans could have equal employment. No company can make a person not enter a job because of a race difference. This makes African Americans go to college and get a degree. Title VIII is a title to protect personal information and to protect it from being deleted. This title applies to everyone in the USA. Title IX was made so that people were treated equally in the justice system, which refers to the 14th Amendment. Title X was made so that the government cannot put in jail a person just because of helping a race. It also made sure that any type of people could be judged because of color or national origin. Title XI is the last title of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This title states that if any person tries to violate one of the titles, they can get a trial by jury. This meant that even if the government tried to violate one of these titles, they would be sent to a trial by jury. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was made so that the people would get equal rights. This caused many movements in the USA and the rest of the world. This prepared a path for more civil movements about gender, race, and color. This also led to many other civil rights acts.